Hi everyone! Today we will be talking about straps. I have lots of questions that you made, and I wanted to address them one by one, but then they are also related one to another that I will go into them like in a sequence. I will do talk about lots of options for straps. And then in the end I will check if there's a question that I didn't go to. So let's start by talking about elastic, because the elastic is one of the fundamental things for our straps. So I'm going to place my elastics here so that you can see with what I work. So what we have here, braided elastic. Let me tell you, first of all, this is my opinion and this is the way I work. So I'm not against any other person that can tell you differently than what I'm telling you, and I'm not going to arguments about different opinions. So this is just my opinion and the way I work. So braided elastic. I don't use this for swimwear ever. This gets wet and then it's to dry it takes a while, so I don't think it's good for swimwear, and it also loses strength when you pull, and also loses strength when you put your needles on the elastic. So this is, I don't believe braided elastic is for swimwear, so I don't recommend using it. I bought this small bit of elastic. This is actually clear elastic. It's very hard to find here in Lisbon. There are a lot of supplies that are hard to find here, and online they are so expensive to send to Portugal you cannot imagine. So this is clear elastic, and some of you may want to use it for swimwear because it's very light and thin. And it looks, oh, this is so perfect, but the strength is not the same than on our swimwear elastic. It's not chlorine resistant, so I wouldn't wear it for swimwear. The only exception probably would be if we wanted to do a scrunchie, or a scrunchie in fact on a bottom back. I think we could use this elastic to do the scrunchie, but I think that's it. I wouldn't use it for anything else. Okay, clear elastic. Then we have the rubber elastic. You have black rubber elastic. This is baby powder, that's why it looks gray, but it's black rubber elastic. Rubber elastic white. This is a textured rubber elastic, but you can also have it non-textured. This is actually, I think, 6 millimeters, 8 millimeters, and this one is also 8 millimeters, and this is 1 centimeter, and that's the only elastic that I can find here in Lisbon. So usually my swimwear is made with this one, and rarely I use any other elastics. Now let's go talk about specific straps that we want to make. We can have straps that are reversible, or we can have straps for the non-reversible. And we have so many different straps that for sure I'm going to forget some of them, but I'm going to try and sew some options so that you can more or less see how I manage to calculate and to do my straps. So let's start by the most common straps that we make. I'm going to grab fabric, I'm going to cut the fabric, tell you the measurements that I'm doing and why, and then we will sew from the beginning until the end so that we have a clear strap ready. This is some pieces of fabric that I have, just to give it an example. We have the selvage on our fabric, and we have the grain line in all our patterns. The straps, however, sometimes we don't do long rectangles for you to cut, we just say the measurements. So the straps should always be cut on the length of your greater stretch of your fabric. This means that I would cut this is my selvage, so my grain line would be vertical here, and my greater stretch of the fabric is in this direction, so I will cut my strap in this direction, okay? So the first thing is to cut the strap on the fabric on the correct direction. I'm gonna cut some slices here so that we can work on our examples. So I'm cutting a 3 centimeter high. I'm cutting a 5 centimeter high. And I will also cut a 7 centimeter high and a 1 centimeter high, okay? And then we will do some experiments with all of them. So what we have here, we have a 2 centimeter high strap cut. Then we have 3 centimeter, 3 again, because I want to do both of them, one with the serger and one with the regular machine. 1 5 centimeter and 1 7, okay? And we will do different things with them so that we can see different results. I also cut a piece of fabric to simulate like a small triangle bikini top. Never mind that, of course, the shape is not correct. But on top of my cut, I have 2 centimeters. This is the most common that I use when I have a simple strap. So I used the 2 centimeter on my pattern, and on this video I'm gonna give you a chart that I use to calculate the difference. When I know that on my pattern I have 2 centimeters, how do I know which height I should use for my cut? And I have a rule for me that I've created, and I'm gonna share how I calculate this. So grab a paper and see if this works for you also. So I have a pattern. Oh, this pen is awful. And I have 2 centimeters here on top of my pattern. Imagine this was a triangle. And I have 2 centimeters here. So I need to know what's the height of my strap. I know that for a 2 centimeters pattern, I need to cut 3 centimeters high strap. And I know that my final result on the strap after reversed, final strap, will be 1. And I'm going to tell you why. When we have these 2 centimeters, we will make a seam allowance on this side to connect both fabrics and another on this side, right? So this is half a centimeter and this is half a centimeter. I mean, these are the differences that you may have because each machine is according to your regulations, to your adjustments. So in my machine, I have half a centimeter of seam allowance on each side. Then I have my the total was 2, but after taking these from each side, I will have only 1 centimeter available for my strap. So I need to make a strap that once it's ready, it will have 1 centimeter, like this one. So when I cut 3 centimeters, imagine, okay, this is 3, we start doing our strap, folding the strap in half. So when we fold in half, you will have 1.5 centimeter. But then, imagine this is 1.5 centimeter. But then, imagine we are going to have the seam allowance also, the seam, our seam, and our seam will be half a centimeter here. So we will lose half a centimeter, okay? Less half a centimeter here. So instead of 1.5, we will have, in fact, 1 centimeter. And then you reverse the strap to the right side and you have your strap for your pattern. So this is more or less the calculations that you need to make for your specific configuration of your serger. You need to see how much you are spending on your seam. You have to see how much your pattern is, and then you do this, at least this is how I do my thinking for the straps. Now, before we go to the straps, let's talk about how we have our machines and your equipment. So this is these are the needles that I use. I use ballpoint needles. These are for my machine. It's 70, the thickness of the needle, And you need to use ballpoint needles for jersey or swimwear fabric, and also because of the elastics, so that they will not rip with a very sharp regular normal needle. So either ballpoint or jersey, it's good for your machine and for swimwear. This is the elastic foot that I have from quite a while now, but I never use it. So this was another question that you had, yes or no to the foot. Well, this is very personal. I never adapted myself to the foot. You can adjust the pressure on the elastic here on this screw, and you can adjust the width of your elastic here. But I never adapted myself to this, I think for two reasons. One, because I think I can feel better the tension that I'm giving to the elastic when I'm pulling it. So I prefer pulling it instead of adjusting the pressure here. And mainly also because along, for instance, along a neckline or whatever, sometimes I give tension in certain areas and no tension on other areas. And so I would have to adjust this. So I never use this, but of course, if you adjust it to it, some people say it's wonderful, but honestly, I prefer to feel and to do it by hand. Regarding the threads, I use polyester threads, of course, always, so they will not break. So don't use cotton, use polyester. Regarding the machines and the regulation for the machines, I can show you my machines. I'm going to do it now. But this is very according to your own machine, so it will depend a lot on your machine. So even if I give you my the configuration that I have, probably it won't work on your machine because they're all different, but I'm going to share what I have. Okay, so this is my overlock. It has a cover stitch, which I never use, but I have to try to use it, but I never use the cover stitch. Maybe you say, oh, stupid, you have it and you don't use it, but it's true, I've never used it. So I only use my normal 4 stitches with 2 underneath and 2 needles on top. As you can see here, I have, of course, the 2 needles there, okay. And then I adjust the width of my thread, of my seam, and the tension also. I have lots of the foot pressure. I have some adjustments that I can make to my machine, and also the cut here, the blades. I can adjust the blade. So of course you also have so many configurations on yours. But let me tell you, okay, so my left needle is regulated to between 4 and 5, more 4 than 5. Then my right needle between 5 and 6, and then the ones that are below are between 5 and 6, and the last one, the red one, on 5. So of course this will be different on each machine, so I don't think this information is useful. On my regular machine, this one, I use, as you can see now, it's with my zigzag stitch. I have my zigzag stitch, which usually I put with my width on 3 and my length on 2. Even for my cover stitch, when I do non-reversible, I also use this configuration. But I also have elastic stitch, and in this case I need to do it a bit wider because it's different. But you must have different stitches on your machine, and you can use them, but honestly I use my overlock, and then here I use the zigzag, the elastic, the straight stitch, and more or less, and also of course invisible stitches and etc., but not for swimwear. So my regular machine has an overlock stitch that with the folded fabric can be applied on the fold. But I never use this, as you can imagine, because I have my overlock. So every time I use this machine, I never do overlock on my regular machine. So I'm not able to teach you much of anything, except of course the zigzag and the elastic, which I do use on my machine, but I don't do overlock on this one. The main thing we need to know, all the reversible straps, I do them exactly the same way. I fold the fabric, I sew, applying the elastic, and I reverse the strap. And this is always the same. What may be different on each strap here? First, the size, the height of your elastic, because the higher the strap, the higher the elastic should be. Unfortunately, I don't have other elastics other than this. So I've used a braided elastic just as an example, okay, but this should be rubber if it was to be worn on the beach. And I also did some examples already, but I'm going to do them with you again so that you can see what I've been doing here. So what changes? Changes the height of the elastic, but if they are reversible, I always do that the same way. I fold, I sew with the elastic, and I reverse them. Some of you asked, should we go first on the overlock and then go again with the elastic? Well, I know that some people may tell you to do that, and I think that's an option if you feel more comfortable doing it, so please do. But I don't do that, that's not an option for me, because imagine you will have to go with your overlock 2 times on the same place. Firstly, because of time, managing your time, it's not efficient. And secondly, because you will have more threads on the same area. So if you want to achieve a very thin strap, imagine going twice on the overlock. So it's a lot of threads inside. So I don't think that's a good idea. And I know that in the beginning, maybe you want to try and do that with that specific method. But I really advise you to learn how to do it, everything in one time. Overlock and placing elastic, okay? So that's one of the things I wanted to tell you. So let's do one reversible strap. This is the most common that I use. It's the small 1 centimeter strap. So I'm gonna do one of them, and then we will go back and do the same, but on the regular machine, so that we can feel the difference between doing them on the 2 different machines. So I think the first thing we should do here is you should use the threads on the same color of your fabric, because I'm sure that we will be able to see the thread on the other side. So I would use the thread on the same color of the fabric. In this machine, I sometimes struggle when I start on the real beginning of the fabric. So I have to go a little bit far and go down. And now I put my needle down. I put my zigzag stitch, and I'm gonna go 2 stitches or 3 back. And now I'm going to foot up, elastic, and foot down. I need to help my machine, so I'm gonna grab a tail if I can back there, because I know that my machine is going to struggle with this. So let's see how it goes. Okay, it's moving, so I'm doing like a zigzag with my elastic on the edge of the folded open edges, and this is the fold. Okay, I think this is enough for the test. Now I'm gonna do exactly the same on my overlock, and let's see the difference after this on our table. So again, fold the fabric. If you feel you want to make this more secure, pin, but be careful with the pins on your machine, with your blade. So I'm gonna go near the needles, foot down, start, and with my needles down, foot up, elastic until near my needles. They touch my needles, the elastic touches my needles, and now I grab the fabric. I will not pull the fabric And I will leave the elastic go along also without tension. Now on the rest of the strap, I'm going to apply tension so that we can see the difference once the strap is done. I'm gonna foot up, elastic to the sides, and come out. And now let's go to the table and let's check out what we have just done. So here we have our zigzag stitch with the elastic on the regular machine, no tension. And on this one, we have my machine is with some problem here, as you can see, but never mind that, it's a problem from my machine. So I sewed with my overlock and then I gave tension, remember? One of you asked, oh, how do we prevent coil? Well, you don't give tension. You see, tension here, no tension here. See the difference? Okay? I don't think for the straps you need to give any tension. For the straps for your triangle or whatever, you don't need to give tension to the straps because you have the elastic and you have the fabric, and you will give it a knot or a bow or something, and you will adjust tension as you go along and you put it on your body. So I don't think we need to give any tension here on a regular strap if it's simple for a triangle bikini top or something. So now to reverse, we have two options. We can use this, it's a loop turner, which has a small hook on the end, and you go with your hook inside your fabric to the other side. You grab the end of the fabric, and it's missing a part on my loop turner, but I do it anyway like this, and then gently pull inside so that the strap will come. My loop turner gets stuck a lot because I'm missing a small part on the loop turner, but with a lot of patience I always use it to reverse my straps. You also have another option, which is with a safety pin. See the patient that I need to be? This is it. Okay, done. You see the one that is perfectly straight with no tension, and then the one with tension. Okay, this can be something that you want to make on purpose, the tension, to get this result. But I don't believe you gain anything with this, except when we want to do like a scrunch, and then we need to pull the elastic. And in some areas of the swimsuit, of course, we need to give tension, but I don't think on the straps we should do it. And you can see here why, okay? Now, to reverse this one, we can also use this method, or we can use a safety pin. I actually never use the safety pin, so let me see if I can do it. I'm gonna grab one end of this, and then safety pin in, pull the safety pin through the fabric, it comes out, and pull. Let me see. Okay, I think it will work. I had excess fabric here that I should have cut before. Okay, this is the result of doing things for the first time on camera. Okay, no problem. This is who I am. I'm learning, just like you. Oh my God, my safety pin opened. Ooh, I was lucky not to get stuck. Okay, I officially hate the safety pin for these smaller straps. So I'm gonna stop filming, and calmly, I'm gonna remove the safety pin from my strap or we will stay here forever and you will be very bored. Yeah. Ugh. So it was fun. I had to throw it away, imagine. Nice. So I'm gonna use the loop turner this time. I think the safety pin should have been smaller. I'm gonna use another safety pin that I think I have to do it once the strap is larger, because I used the safety pin, it was too big for my small strap, but okay. We will do it again on this tutorial. So, never quit. Again, with the loop turner, try to reverse this, made with a zigzag stitch. Let's see. Okay, so it's okay, we did it. Of course, I did it very small, but of course, as you can see, you can do it. It's almost the same, but as I told you, I really think that if you are going to sew swimwear, you should invest on an overlock, not only because of the straps, but because of the overall results. It will be much better. But as you can see, it's possible. We made the strap on the regular machine and it's fine. Another question that I had was regarding the finishes on the end of the strap. Well, if the strap is larger, sometimes it's a good option to fold the edge of the strap inside and sew. But for me, with the bulkiness that this gives you, the best that I think is just to finish like normal and then grab a sharp scissor and cut it. And I would leave it like this. And it's okay. I think it's perfectly acceptable. And then if you want, you can tie a knot, or usually I leave them like this. So in my beginning, the tutorials that I made in some straps, especially on the channels, you will see this in Paris top and Venice. On the channel, you also have an ending that ends like this. And despite we fold that to make the channel for the strap, I don't like seeing that finish. And what I did was I folded inwards. But since I don't have elastic until the edge, in that case, I didn't have elastic until the end, it was not bulky. So that's why folding inwards, it's a good option, because if you don't have the elastic, the fabric will not be too bulky. But for the straps, I think this is a good option. I don't know if you agree, but this is how I do it. Now, something that is important also regarding the finishes. When I start sewing on the machine, I don't place the elastic on the beginning. And this means that sometimes you will get like a sticky edge of the elastic, and you can see where the elastic began being sewn on your strap. So you can use this in one way that I usually do, that I think it's good. When we have our bikini top ready and we want to insert the strap, sometimes I use this as a reference to place a little bit, like, imagine we are gonna sew here the strap to the top, right? And we will spend 1/2 centimeter here. So I would leave my elastic 1/2 centimeter. So I would sew here a little bit over the elastic to make it secure. But probably I would cut this and assemble with this like this. So I'm gonna cut and show you. So I would cut like this. Okay, my sticky edge is there. And then when this would be ready and we would insert this inside, I would place it like this. I would sew, and that's it. And you will not see anything once the bikini is reversed, okay? So, because I don't like to see these edges. But of course, if you use the elastic foot, you cannot control this. So the elastic will always start on the beginning of your sewing. So it's not an option for you to start after. You will start in the beginning and that's it. And I think that sometimes that's not an advantage, because for instance, on my top, I will go to the sewing machine now and I will do it so that we can see. I will sew a little bit without the elastic, and then I place the elastic and I sew until the end, and I do the same on the other side. And once we do this, because on the top area we will then attach a strap, if I put the elastic from the beginning, you will see that it's much bulkier. So I don't do that. I always leave a little bit without elastic. I know that in theory, and some professionals already told me that you are supposed to not cut the elastic and put the elastic from the beginning. I know that that's what you are supposed to do, but to be honest, that's not what I do. And so in this video, I'm just sharing how I do it. Maybe it's not the perfect way, but it's how I do it. So I'm gonna sew these two sides so that we can insert one strap on our simulation of top. So your two fabrics should be pinned before your pattern, right? So that you are sure that they are perfectly aligned. In this case, this is like a small piece of fabric, so I'm not going to be so detailed, but it's pinned. So I align the top with the needles, foot down, start sewing, and just after 2 or 3 stitches, I grab my elastic, I place my elastic near the needle again, foot down. I'm not gonna apply pressure now. Actually, I felt that the elastic slided, so it will be far away from the beginning, much far away than I wanted to. I'm not gonna do it again. I'm gonna leave it like this so you can see the difference between this side and the other one. So I'm gonna cut the elastic and I'm gonna do the same on the other side. But this time, I'm going to make sure that my elastic goes exactly until the point that I want it to go. So when I'm reaching the end of the part where I'm going to attach the strap, I go until more or less 1/2 centimeter from the end of the pattern of the fabric, and then with my needles down, foot up, I tilt the elastic and sew. And now let's go to the table to see this in detail and see the result. So we sewed on both sides. As you can see, I told you that the elastic slided, so it ended up being too far from the edge. This wouldn't be an option if this was a real bikini. I would have to remake it, so the elastic would be much closer, like it's on this side. So this would not be an option. Now, two things. This is the size, as I told you, to insert our strap, but instead of doing it now, I'm going to tell you two things to take into consideration once we reverse this to the right side. This side that I know it's going to be more perfect, I'm going to trim the elastic so that the elastic doesn't have a sticky edge, okay? Like this. Again, this is something that I know the professionals tell you not to do. Do not cut elastic, but again, sorry, this is how I do it. Now on this side I'm not going to trim, and I'm going to leave it exactly how it is. So reverse, imagine this is a triangle top. Okay. So grab your strap, and the side of the elastic is my main side. So the seam is going to be back to the wrong side, to the second side. And I'm going to insert the strap until the top here, right? Now, you always ask, how do you get the perfect finish on the straps? I don't think it's perfect, but it's how I do it and I really like it. What do? I go to my straight stitch machine, I secure these threads over here with a diagonal stitch. I cross to the other side and then diagonal again. And when I do this, I'm securing the strap to the top, and I'm also securing these threads from unfolding, because once this is sewed, I'm going to trim all the excess fabrics outside of that line that I'm going to sew now. So I'm going to do the line now, follow me. So I'm going to do diagonal. At this point I would have my thread from the color of my fabric. I'm gonna use elastic stitch to go on the diagonal, cross and diagonal. Go back, of course. My machine is doing a strange noise. Foot up, turn, foot up, turn to the diagonal, one back and cut. Okay, my machine was doing a very strange noise, so I didn't want to go back and do it again. But usually what I do is I go diagonal, as I told you, I cross. This is not straight, but I cross, and then I do a diagonal again. But I don't do this only once. I do this, normally I do this twice on the same place more or less. So again here, cross and diagonal, okay? I have to go and check my machine because I think she wants a break. I don't know. What do we do now? We trim the outside the line. We trim the excess fabric. And this is the finish that I give to all my straps. And now I'm going to reverse so that you can see. Okay, so if we had our triangle like this, as you can see, the finish is good. We had to cut this, but as you can see, the finish on both sides here, it's good, okay? But you can see here a sticky corner, right? This is the elastic. So this is the side that we started the elastic a bit further away from the edge. So the elastic only starts here, and you can see the edge of the elastic there. And on this side, you cannot see the edge of the elastic. You see, like it is smooth. And on this side, you can perfectly see the sticking edge of the elastic. So this would be the way that I attach my straps to my top, that I think you often comment on that you like how I do it. So this is the way I do it, okay? Now, let's try and make the thinnest of them all, one with only 2 centimeters high. So when we fold, we have 1 centimeter. We will apply the elastic that you know that has 8 millimeters, and then we will try to reverse this to the right side. Let's see if we can. So I have my 2 centimeter strap here. I also have this in purple. I'm gonna do this in purple. So fold over. This is very thin. I never do this with 2 centimeters. I'm not gonna start on the beginning because I know that my strap, this one, will be very hard. Okay, so I've done some stitches. Now I'm gonna put my elastic. So my foot is up and my needle is down. Let's go. No tension on the elastic, neither the fabric. I think this is it. I'm going out. We don't need to do it very long. Let's see it on the table. Here is our super slim strap. I'm gonna just cut this, okay? I'm gonna try to reverse with my loop turner. Please help me, loop turner. Cooperate with me, make this possible. I remember you asking me not to do fast forwards in this tutorial, so I think it will be a bit too long, the video, and maybe I have to break it in two, but I'm gonna do as you requested, and I'm not going to do fast forwards. I'm actually going to start pulling from the side which I have less elastic, so I'm gonna go in on the side with a lot of elastic, and I'm gonna try going from this side with less elastic because it's less bulky. And let's see if this helps me to reverse this strap, because it would be amazing on the other side, I think. Let me see if I can do this. Yes, this is actually a very nice fabric, this purple one. It's recycled from Carvico, Italian. I love it. Okay. So our super slim strap, but with a problem, I think. You see how she has her own will, because I think the elastic is too big for the strap. It's too high. It should be 0.5 centimeter and not 8 millimeters. Probably with a 0.5 centimeter elastic, you would be able to do a 2 centimeter wide strap, but this is the result when you do a 2 centimeter cut with 8 millimeter elastic. Okay, it's actually nice if you pull it. It's actually nice, but I think I would prefer to do it on 1 centimeter like this instead of this. Okay, so it's up to you. Another experiment that we've just made. More experiments. So about straps, with this one, folding again, we should place a wider elastic, which I don't have. I only have this. This is braided. It's not for swimwear. And on the 5-1, if I put the elastic here and then I reverse, it will be like this one. This means that on this side, I think you can see it's like doing like a curve. It's curving because I think the elastic is too big for the size of the strap. So make sure that you remember the strap is cut with 5 and my elastic is 2 centimeters. Okay, so once this is folded, don't forget it's 2.5, and then you take half for the seam. So you have 2, so it's too narrow to have your elastic. The elastic should always have less, you should always have the seam space here and then the elastic. So the elastic always needs to be smaller than the size of your strap, then half the size of your strap plus the seam. Does this make sense? Did I overcomplicate the thinking? I hope not. So this is an experiment that I did with this elastic and 5, and it's like this, a little bit curvy, as I told you. And in this area, what I did, the only difference is I gave tension to the elastic, and so the result was this. Okay, and then when you put it on your body, probably it will be nice, but so that you can see how it's so different when you pull the elastic and give tension or not. To control the tension of the elastic, we have a mathematical way that we can do it, or we have our intuition. If we want to be mathematical, we would have to, with a ruler, we would have to mark if this has 21 centimeters and I don't want to give any tension, I will put 21 centimeters also for the elastic, right? But imagine that you want to, instead of instead of not giving tension, you want to give a bit of tension. Imagine that you want to give 20% tension. So instead of 21, the elastic is pulled, let me put it here, 21 here. So 20% of 21 is 2.1, so you will stretch 2.1 like here, and would be the result that you wanted, right? To stretch the elastic 2.5 centimeters. So you will do the contrary. You will take 2.5 centimeters, so you know that when you stretch it will be the 21. But this means that you had to mark with a pen on the elastic and on the fabric. You fold the fabric and you mark, for instance, 5, 5, 5, and then on the elastic you would have to also mark to make sure that you are giving the tension and the mark on the elastic is matching your fabric. But I think this is too obsessive for swimwear and for us that are doing this at home. I think with time you will get the feeling and you will know the tension to give to your elastic on each part of your fabric. So I don't think marking is something that we need to do, but if you want to do it, I know that there are specific YouTube tutorials with those mathematical numbers, so I'm not gonna go in detail with the tension of the elastic on this video. So I've shown you this. This is the result on the 7 with the same elastic of 2, so it has a little bit of extra room here, okay, and once it's on you it would be good. So always use the elastic smaller, remember, than the half. In this case, imagine that we were here, we would spend, our seam would be here. So this means that this extra space is the space that is here, okay? So if you want, you can put an elastic more close to the seam, but don't forget not too close or it will curve like it did here, okay? So how do we do it? If we want to have a scrunchy ruffles, whatever, I don't know the name, which when the elastic is smaller and then you get the result of, you know, the fabric doing this, it will be mentioned on the pattern, but you need to see the elastic on you, how much size you want it to be on the final result, and then you, for the fabric, you cut 30% more or 25% more. It depends on the amount of fabric that you want to have on your bands. So imagine that we are gonna use this one. I'm gonna do, this is 21, and I'm gonna cut here 10. So more, I'm gonna do half. So not this, fold in half. Let's try half so that we see the results. Okay, so we have half. It will be very, 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 very so sew this in half with no elastic. Then we insert this on one of the edges. Let's go to the machine and now we'll talk to you there. This is actually, I do some bands for the hair bands. And this is exactly how I do the back part of the bands to be adjustable for each person. This is exactly how I do it. Okay, once this is done, reverse this to the right side. Oh, I'm gonna do it with a safety pin. So time to test our safety pin again. So safety pin on one side, go in, grab the safety pin along the strap, voila, done. Okay, now we have this here, right? I only have this elastic, so now what do I do? With my loop turner, I grab my elastic and I pull my elastic inside until this edge here. And I'm actually going to secure this on my straight stitch machine. So my elastic is here. Let's go to the straight stitch machine and secure the elastic to the main fabric. So just straight ahead, go back and forth. This is an elastic stitch, so then when you feel it's secure and everything is okay, you can cut. So it's secure. Now with my loop turner I grab my elastic and I pull it out. Oh! I used the bigger part of the elastic instead of the small one. Sorry, but I can fix it. We can more or less see the size. Okay, imagine that this was the size of the elastic. I'm sorry. So we have the scrunchy effect here. We now put the elastic on this edge just like we did now. We are going to the sewing machine and sew straight ahead again. Now imagine that this was part of a bottom or the straps of a top. You just needed to adjust this. See? This could be the side of a bottom, for instance, and you would insert this just like a normal strap inside your, if it's a reversible, inside your piece. You would sew here, secure the other side, and you would have a fluffy, nice strap. So this is also nice. And you see, we used half for the elastic, so the fabric was the double of the elastic. And it's quite nice because once it's on your body, you don't want to expand this like this, right? So it's quite nice. I think the result is, I don't know, it depends on your taste, so, but at least you know how to do them now, okay? So this is this, I'm gonna call it fluffy because I think it's so fluffy. So fluffy straps. Let me see which questions you made to make sure that I go to all of them. You asked about not seeing the threads on the end of the strap. As I told you, on the small ones I usually just cut and that's it. On the smaller ones, on the large ones I don't take the elastic until the end, and sometimes I fold inside and sew, but I don't like the result most of the times, so it doesn't quite, it's never perfect. I think you can try the best, but it's never perfect. Sergers without straps, we have done one and you have seen the result. It was very similar to the one with the serger, but it's a bit different. Another question that you made is regarding the threads. This is also depending on your overlock settings. If you have your settings for the stitches to be very tight, probably you will not see the threads on the other side. You always see a little bit, but then if you choose the color of your thread according to your fabric, that will not make a difference. Here you can see a little bit the threads, but it's not a big deal, as you can see, right? So it depends on the settings of your machine. Okay, so adjust the settings until you get the finish that you want. I actually have a video that is going to be released with one of the new patterns, in which I explain you that I use, for my overlock, I use black and white only. And I made a coral one piece that I love. I can tell you the name already. It will be Vesper, the new, one of the new swimsuits. So when I was sewing Vesper and doing the tutorial, Vesper is coral, the one that I did is coral, and my threads were black. So what I did is I went to my straight stitch machine, and with the color of the fabric threads I reinforced some areas to make sure that once the swimsuit was on the correct side you couldn't see the black threads. So on that video I approach exactly that question and that specific thing. So if you want to see it later when I launch the video, you already know it's the swimsuit Vesper. You asked about serging once or twice, and I already referred that I think once with elastic at the same time it's perfect, less bulky, less threads, so it's better. I use 4 threads on my overlock. I'm going to show you my overlock. I use 4 threads, so my 2 main needles and then 2 underneath. So I don't do the cover stitch on my machine, despite my machine has a cover stitch. I have never used it before. I know, maybe it's stupid. I must try, but I didn't try yet. My seam width, well, my seam width is again a setting of my overlock. So my seam width, when I sew, as I told you before, my seam width is usually half a centimeter or 6 millimeters, and this is something that you can adjust the setting on your machine. So our seam allowances on our new patterns are now 8 millimeters or 1 centimeter. I'm still deciding. Why? Because you always cut 1 millimeter or 2 of fabric to give the right tension to your threads, and then you have the size of your seam. So you will lose that seam allowance that I included in the new patterns. Now I think I should talk to you about the non-reversibles, because I know most of you prefer the reversibles, but I'm leaning towards the non-reversibles most of the times now, despite many of our new patterns are still reversible. But I want to tell you exactly why I think the non-reversible straps, for instance, are so easy to sew and so easy to do with your swimsuit non-reversible. But before going to the non-reversible, which I have already cut it lining here, I want to talk to you about straps made on our regular machine with a zigzag stitch as a finish, because that's also a possibility and I was forgetting that one. So imagine that I have 4 a 4 centimeter strap, and what I would do is let me grab the elastic. So imagine I want to do I don't think you will, because you love so much the reversibles, and I also love them, but I don't think you will want to do this option. But I'm gonna let you know another option for the straps. Because the zigzag stitch on top, the top stitch, may be something even funny. You can play with colors of your thread versus your fabric. I think it may be something very, very interesting to do. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to my straight stitch machine and sew my elastic on the edge of my fabric. With a zigzag stitch, I'm gonna secure the entire elastic to the thread, to the strap. So let's do it. Since we are there, we can also approach already this one. So with this one, if this was a non-reversible, this would be out outside of our outside fabric, and this would be our lining, we would actually place them together and we would sew on our overlock both of the sides with elastic. So I'm going to also do that and this.
You can see that I'm leaning my elastic to the left because my machine pulls my elastic to the right, so I need to feel the elastic and adjust it. I'm not pulling, I'm just adjusting the direction. Okay, my elastic is secured and attached to my fabric. Okay, now let's just go and do the non-reversible and then we go to the table. Okay, so my lining with my main and sew them together. In the case of the reversibles, with the lining facing upwards, and the elastic is placed on top of your lining. No tension again in this case. I'm cutting a little bit of fabric to make sure my tension of the threads from the threads of the overlock are correct. I need to cut a little bit of fabric. So here is my strap. Let's go to the table.
So I end up doing one side without elastic and the other with elastic, just to remind you, because this is something that I really want to tell you. Always place elastic on your swimwear, or you will end up going to the water and leaving the water naked. The fabric will not have enough elasticity and tights to your body, and it will fall and you will be naked on the beach. So always place elastic on your seams, always. So I did it, this one without elastic and this one with elastic, and you can actually see how this one has a different shape, and this is not even a rectangle now. Okay, and this has nothing to do, the safety of it has nothing to do. This would fall. Okay, imagine this is a non-reversible. So what's the next step on a non-reversible? We fold this inside like this. We go to our sewing machine and we do a zigzag stitch or another top stitch that you like all the way around here, and the strap will be finished. And we would do exactly the same on the other side with elastic, of course. We would do exactly the same thing on the other side with the zigzag. Okay, this is something again that we used on tie and also on Vesper, and you can also see in detail on those tutorials. So tie is already uploaded, Vesper no, because it's one of the new ones. But as you can see, no at the moment. Maybe when you are seeing this video it's already uploaded. Well, so zigzag here, and this will be done. I will go and do the zigzag so that you see the result. For this one, we secured the stitch with a zigzag with the elastic to the main fabric. Now we fold, and we fold this again like this in the middle, and we fold again. And now I need to pin this because I wouldn't be able to do it other way, like this and like this, and I need to pin. Remember, I cut it 4 centimeters. So So it's more or less the space that we need for our 8mm elastic, and then all the folds that I'm making. So it will end up being a 1cm strap, just like the reversible ones, but the look is completely different. This will have a top stitch, a zigzag top stitch. Again, you can do in contrast with your fabric, or you can use the same color of your fabric, so it's completely optional. I'm gonna grab the new patterns and I'm not gonna show them completely, but I'm gonna show you the seams so that you will see exactly what I mean, because one of them is purple and you will be able to see I used purple thread, and you can see the final result using the same color thread, and you will see how beautiful it is. And also the non-reversible, when they are wet, they will get dry much faster because the lining is so much thinner than 2 layers of your fabric. But of course, I know you don't want to see thread, so that's why we sometimes go to reversibles, but I end up always using the reversible on the same side. So okay, so straight stitch with a zigzag and fold, zigzag and fold, zigzag.
So fold, align your fabric, zigzag the size that you want. You need to choose your favorites. I always feel the elastic inside, so this is very easy for you to make. So as you can see, we have this in white, but it's a nice finish, you see, and I think it's also a good option if you want to try the non-reversibles. You will like them. Now let's do this one. It's a little bit trickier. So I'm gonna start on these sides with my... Wait. The needles cannot go on the machine in this position. So what I'll do, you have one side that it's where you made the fold. You need to secure that side, so place your fabric under your needle, see if it's in the correct place, foot down. I'm going to do zigzag. I'm going to remove my first pin, and let's see. I'm gonna take the second pin. Okay, third pin. I was distracted, so now you will see. So let's go to the table. I have here the non-reversible strap with the zigzag stitch in white. I didn't do this side without the elastic, I only did one of the sides. But this would sit perfectly on you, and the result is quite nice. So this can be one strap for a swimsuit, a non-reversible swimsuit. This is the one that we've just made with the folds, and it's much more difficult to do than the reversible one. Okay. But it's more imperfect and less even, but here is the zigzag in white, so you can see it very clearly. I told you that we could have done this on the same color of the fabric and you wouldn't see this so much, but I did it in white in contrast so that you can see perfectly how the strap is. Even if you don't do a reversible strap, you can have this as one solution if you want to. It's comfortable, but I think it's a bit bulky because it has more fabric than a non-reversible strap, but it's an option if you want to. So, how to calculate the straps for each pattern? Okay, if you have a pattern that, imagine it's a triangle, and you have here 2 centimeters, like I had on this one. This means I have 2 centimeters on my pattern, and I will cut 3 centimeters cut. So it will be like this, right? And this is 3 centimeters. Once you fold, so once you go to your sewing machine, it will be half, so it will be 1.5 centimeters. And you will lose half a centimeter or more, depends on your settings of your overlock. You will lose some millimeters here for your seam. So if I lose half a centimeter, this means I'm gonna have 1 centimeter strap. So you just reverse it and you will have a 1 centimeter strap. Since the pattern is 2 centimeters and your seams are 0.5 on one side and 0.5 on the other, when you connect both of them, right, will result on a space here of 1 centimeter. And you already have your 1 centimeter strap done. So you cut 3 centimeters, the result is 1 and the pattern is 2. And this is the thinking that I always do to calculate any straps that I do for my patterns. Okay? So this is the thinking. First thing I wanted to talk to you about is I cut a very tiny back, like a simulation of a back bottom. And I think this elastic may be useful to do the scrunchie on the back. Let's go to our sewing machine and do a scrunchie on this bottom back to see how the elastic behaves. So I didn't mark the middle. I'm gonna do this just to test the clear elastic, because in this case for a scrunchie maybe you can use it. So I would leave a tail to be able to pull, but I'm gonna do it without the tail. Let's see how it goes. So zigzag, and now I'm gonna start pulling with a small thread that I have there. I'm gonna pull my elastic and try to help the fabric go into the machine. Okay, pull again. Okay, pull again and help the elastic go. I have to help, or because I'm pushing, I'm pulling the elastic. If I don't help the fabric go, it will go backwards, so I need to help and pull. In this case I have a fabric, I can pull the fabric now. So I'm gonna pull the elastic, be careful to don't break the needle, so pull the elastic and pull the fabric to help going, okay? Okay, I think it's enough. I go back 1, cut, and let's see on the table. I actually think this is a good idea for a scrunchie. So I'm gonna cut the clear elastic. You see here, it's very soft and it did what we wanted to, see? And then on the other side you have the zigzag stitch,
okay? And this would be our bottom back with the scrunchie. And I think the elastic, the clear elastic, can perfectly be used for this purpose. Okay, this is not straps anymore, so I'm gonna say goodbye and see you on our next tutorial.